Hi, I'm Brian Lord, Senior Vice President of Premier Speakers Bureau. I'm excited to have on Scott Stratten, engagement expert and author of Unmarketing, Stop Marketing, Start Engaging. Scott has spoken to several top organizations, including PepsiCo, Adobe Systems, Cirque du Soleil, and the Red Cross. Scott, thanks for having us on.
Oh, thanks for having me, Brian. I'm looking forward to it.
Great, great. Now, I don't know if you know this or not, but the very first time I actually heard about you and how we started working with you as a speaker is my wife saw you at a conference, heard you speak, called me up from the convention floor and said, "Brian, you've got to book this guy." So, in any other instance, you could have Adobe Systems and PepsiCo, but you have my wife's endorsement, which is really you can't ask for anything higher than that.
I can't beat that. Like that should be the only testimonial on my site. Like that really should be when it comes down to it. If I can get people to phone instantaneously to saying you need to see this guy, I can't beat that.
That's great. Well, Scott, let's say you're trying to help an event planner whose boss has maybe heard of the Twitter and the Facebook and the YouTube, but doesn't really think that they apply to business. How can you help that event planner make a case that social media does matter for corporations?
Well, that's usually they're calling it like Bookface and Tweezer or something else, right? They just don't get this fad that's out there. And to me, I hear a lot of excuses when it comes to social media that it's not for us or we're B2B or that's only for tech or something. And I only have really one way to say it. Is your niche market people? Is your target market humans? Because if it is, they're there. Like, we don't have to get into the numbers too deeply. We're almost at 1 billion people on Facebook. We're almost at 250 million on Twitter. It's not a fad anymore. It's talking. Talking's never been a fad. It's communication. We've just shifted it to virtually. I've been doing word of mouth type of marketing things for a decade now, and all we know is the word has shifted into being digital now. So talking's not a fad. People will always communicate. And even more importantly, and what I really think corporations need to understand is that people are passive in person but aggressive online. They're not going to answer your survey most of the time. They're not going to tell one of your employees something. They're going to vent it virtually. And if you're not there to reply or to listen, it seems like you're doing this, which you are. You're ignoring these things. And I think it's the most valuable type of feedback we can get. It's real time, it's honest, and it's raw. And I even hear the argument, Brian, about people saying, well, I'm B2B. It's fine to B2C, it's fine to consumers, but we're business to business. You're still person to person. And if people thrive off of being social and talking and networking, then social media makes a lot of sense.
In your speech, Engagement 2.0, you talk about how sales, marketing, customer service have all changed incredibly over the past few years. What are some of those changes, and how can a company adapt to these changes to blow past their competitors who haven't quite caught on?
Well, it used to be customer service especially, used to be one-to-one, right? You'd phone and you'd answer it. You'd email, you'd answer. But now it's one to everyone. I tweet my customer service question. I put on your company's Facebook wall a question, and everybody sees it, which means if you don't give a good answer or any answer at all, that gets noticed. Before, if the phone just kept ringing, it just kept ringing, and we didn't tell anybody. But now being one to everyone, it's huge. I just saw a study that said 95% of brand questions, consumers asking brands questions on their Facebook page, go unanswered. 95%, and 70% on Twitter as well. If we had 95% of phone calls not returned, you'd fire your department. If we had only 5% of your industry answering customer questions, you'd see that as an opportunity, which it really is right now.
Wow, wow. Now, what are some of the takeaways that attendees would get after hearing your speech?
Well, there's a couple of angles that really comes at. One is how a company can be using social media, but not only social media, but engagement in general. I really think it's more of a bird's eye thing about engagement. Media being one of the tools. I don't think everybody should be using social media. I truly don't. I don't think everybody should be on Twitter. If you don't have any time at all, you can't start social media because it's a long-term conversation. If you hate people, it's a horrible place to be, right? There's a lot of people there. But I will not accept the excuse people say my market's not there. So for me, I give you the reasons not only for yourself to use it, but reasons you can take back and tell other people why we should be using it. Everybody gets asked the question of social media ROI and what really is it? And we try to answer that in the talk, specifically to that audience too. If it's B2B, we'll take those case studies. If it's B2C, we'll use that as well. I want people walking out of that room doing 3 things: having their mind open, laughing a bit, but also having things that they can use stepping out the door, not even at work the next day, out the door on their phones, doing change. That's a huge part for me.
Now, one of the things we're very big at here at Premier is we want to make sure that event planners look good, and we want to make life easier for them. So what are some of the ways that you make an event planner look good or make life easier on them?
I used to do events. I used to be a part of a committee doing events. I understand the stress. It's like being a wedding planner times 2,000 guests. Like it's even worse. And there's like 27 bridezillas, right? Which is, most of the speakers and the clients, right? So my goal is not to be that diva speaker. My goal is to make sure that the meeting planner is happy with it. And a couple of things I do. One, I talk to people on Twitter and Facebook before the event. I talk to them on the LinkedIn group for the event. Whatever you make platforms for, I create a blog post for the event. We create a video clip. I'll do custom video shout outs to the attendees so the event people can put it on their blog, and it's me, especially when I'm being keynote, it's nice to connect with the audience before there. I don't want to have this prima donna, I'm the keynote, walk up on stage, talk about engagement to the citizens, and then run out the door. That's not the point. I believe in engagement. I want to walk that talk. Plus, I read and talk to people on Twitter during the event too, and afterwards. I think that's a huge point, that the attendees don't feel like I'm just taking it out of a can and saying, here's the talk that everybody gets. I want them to feel that, literally, that I'm talking to them. I just spoke to about 600 physiotherapists at an event, and I literally pulled a hamstring on stage. Like that's how far I'll go, right? I'll go that far enough that I want to connect with the audience, because they're everything to me. If the meeting planner's happy, then I'm happy, because it makes them look good. It makes them want me to come back to another event, and their client's happy, and that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Well, that's dedication. Pulling a hammy, talking to a group of physical therapists. You couldn't pick a better audience to do that for.
That's right.
Well, Scott, thanks so much for taking the time to do this interview. This has been very informative for me, and I'm sure for event planners as well.
Thanks, Brandon.